I'm a music educator, and I've been well trained in the ways of childhood music, from kindergarten on up. Half of this is from college and grad school, and the other half is from my 2-year-old niece's cocomelon addiction. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has a school setting with some great thinking music. I like it, so I'm gonna talk about it, then I'm gonna go back and play the game because it's really, really good. You can build stuff, like you combine little things, like a block and a piece of wood and then a fan, it's like, ooh, it goes. And then, like, you could, like, swim through stuff, like, but it's like physical stuff, you swim up and it's like, ooh, now I'm up here. So it's really good, so let's get this over with.
In Hatsuno Village, you will find Hatsuno School, the School of Hatsuno. Make sense so far? Okay, good. What the heck's up with this kid? Anyway, the music of this school starts like this. And that progression undergirds the music going forward. It's such a perfect blend of Zelda and childishness and thinking. Before going further, let's clear up what I mean when I say thinking music. When I say thinking music, it's not exactly music to think to, but music that sonically simulates the process of thinking. This kind of music usually has at least some of the following. A constant heard pulse, meaning there is rhythmic activity on almost every beat, and it's usually pretty clear, like straight quarter notes like this. Kinda like a heartbeat or a ticking clock. Sequential material, taking something and restating it either a little higher or a little lower. Tiny musical ideas, only about a few seconds long. A singable melody, meaning super large intervals are avoided so that it fits comfortably in a vocal range. A few drones, super long sustained notes. And staccato articulation, short sounds, like if you hit a bar on a marimba, the sound goes away pretty fast. I won't belabor the point with too many examples, but here are just a few throughout different forms of media. From Blue's Clues, when the character is thinking in the thinking chair, from the perfect movie Mean Girls during the math competition scene, there are two distinct sections here which feature different characteristics from the list. Hopefully you can hear under the dialogue.
Making fun of Carolyn Kraft wouldn't stop her from beating me in this contest.
Contestants, find the limit of this equation.
Calling somebody else fat won't make you any skinnier. Calling someone stupid doesn't make you any smarter. And ruining Regina George's life definitely didn't make me any happier. All you can do in life is try to solve the problem in front of you.
The limit is -1.
Oh, crap. I lost.
That answer is incorrect. Now, we are in a sudden death. If Miss Heron can answer this problem correctly, we have a winner.
Limits. Why couldn't I remember anything about limits? Limits. That was the week Aaron got his haircut. Oh, God, he looks so cute. Okay, focus, Katie. What was on the board behind Aaron's head? If the limit never approaches anything, the limit does not exist. The limit does not exist!
Our new state champions, the North Shore Mathletes.
And from the game Pokemon Stadium 2, when the player is taking a Pokemon quiz. The effect is described well by Hannibal composer Brian Reitzel. It is very trancy in a way. When it's working, you're in that reality. You're not even in your living room anymore. Going further, stating that the thinking music of Hannibal attempts to represent the experience of losing one's marbles. This music actually fits quite nicely in a Zelda game. The instrumentation doesn't stray too far from typical Zelda fare. The instruments are just used in a different way. Also, lots of iconic Zelda music is all about sequences. Speaking of both instrumentation and sequences, both fit nicely into specifically childlike thinking music. Okay, guess I'll move. The piano is played in a staccato fashion, and the staccato barred percussion instrumentation used here is also used in many elementary classrooms. They're referred to as Orff instruments in that setting, as they are used a lot in Carl Orff's methodology. They're easy to get started on, you literally just hit a thing with a thing. You can remove certain bars to give students only certain notes to work with, and they're easy to transport and store. I also think staccato when I think kids' music because, well, picture a typical 2-year-old trying to play a melody on the piano. They're just pecking at the keys like they're simple buttons. They're not going for beautiful legato expression. They're not holding down the damper pedal. They just want to plunk out the thing that they like so they can feel accomplished and go back to eating boogers or making TikToks or whatever 2-year-olds do nowadays. As for sequences, they're not used all that much in famous children's music, but they are there sometimes, and they provide a way to extend out tiny musical ideas. And tiny musical ideas are huge in children's music. Because, tiny brains and tiny ears and stuff. Even though sequencing is used here, the piano progression ends with a nice clear 5-to-1 chord cadence, which is typical in the vast majority of kiddie music. From Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to the ABC song to Baba Black Sheep, and yes, those are all the same song. I hope I just blew somebody's mind because I didn't realize that until my 20s. This kid again, shut up and listen to your teacher. The sequence in the opening kind of reminds me of taking a test or trying to learn a new concept. You feel like you've got the hang of it because it's building on previous material, but then it gets confusing, or you second guess yourself, and then you get back on track. So in just that opening bit, we heard staccato, Orff-esque instrumentation, sequences, tiny musical ideas, and a constant heard pulse like a ticking clock. I'd argue the melody is reasonably singable too. This musical material makes up the A section of the piece, and it's restated a few different times with different instruments taking the lead. Then we have a B section which follows many of the same conventions. And then we loop on back to A. Overall, I find this music to reflect the classroom experience reasonably well. Well, the traditional classroom. Maybe not mine, but that would need to just be a never-ending string of requests to go to the bathroom. Who knew kids needed to poop so much?
Being an educator is one of the great blessings of my life. It's also one of the greatest challenges I've ever faced. There are really high highs and really low lows with very little wiggle room in between. If any of my kids are watching this, you should go off and go do homework and stuff. But if you're still watching this, I need you to know that I would do anything for you. And I really mean that. And sometimes you just won't understand that that's not the same thing as I will do anything you want me to do. And on top of that, sometimes I'm gonna get it wrong. But I want every kid that ever walks into my classroom to know deep down that they are cared for and safe and loved. And if my kids don't feel that, I will work day in and day out to make them feel that. Unless this kid walks in, I'm not dealing with that.